Ladies and gentlemen, here we have today in the building Kristal Skies. Kristal, thank you so much for coming over here today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. How are you doing today so far?
Good. You know, it's a beautiful day. Traffic was a little crazy, but I made it here, so.
Yeah, that's Texas in a nutshell. So it's always going to be crazy traffic.
Absolutely.
So for those that don't know, why don't you give us a little bit about yourself? Like, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do.
Yes, so I'm originally from the Rio Grande Valley, and I migrated here to Dallas about 5-6 years ago. I started monetizing music going on 3 years now, so specializing in Latin reggaeton. And it's just been a really fun experience, meeting a lot of new people, you know, getting the opportunities to perform in the city and kind of like, you know, build that connection within the community. So it's been a really great ride.
Hey, mad respect to that, mad respect, and this is
Thank you.
That's a long 3 years. You know, a lot of work takes in for 3 years. So I'm mad respect to that.
Thank you.
So when it comes, out of curiosity, what are some of your inspirations for it comes to like your music taste? Because you said reggaeton, so I know that's current the big wave right now, especially for Latin music. You know, you have Becky G, Carol G in the scene right now.
Right.
But what are some people that you like look up to, like you kind of like listen to, get some ideas from?
Well, you know, it all kind of started with an album that I was listening to from an artist named Dalix and Setch back, you know, a couple of years ago. And I just really fell in love with the melodies, the style of the music. It just kind of like took me back to my roots. You know, I'm from the Rio Grande Valley, so I kind of grew up around a lot of, you know, Latin music, salsa, reggaeton, just different vibrations of music and genres, I'd say. So it started there, and of course, you know, with real life experiences. I just experienced, you know, things in life like we all do, and, you know, love is a lot of the motivation behind my music, so.
And I like that you mentioned love, because it's definitely like, had this really interesting conversation with some other artists where they would say one of the big things to be true about the artists that succeed and those that don't, the ones that like make it far are the ones that are true to themselves. And one of the ways that I see people, like, I guess for lack of better words, like say true to themselves, is like be comfortable with what they're willing to talk about. A lot of people, you know, like say like Juice World knows how to talk about people, like their experiences when it comes to like, you know, agony, going through some tough stuff. But there are not a lot of people that are willing to talk about like genuine, like real emotional stuff. And that's one thing I really loved about Latin music, is that they just kind of, they know their game of talking about love and like having the experience of love, whether it be your first love, whether it be going through a breakup, whether it be refining that love. And that's something that I really like. That's just the one thing I love about, you know, just reggaeton and just really the Latin music.
Absolutely. You know, it's just real.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love about it, so.
It's real music, and it's just real art right there. When it comes to like making your music and like just your process, what would you say like what has been sort of the part of the process that you work on that you see is like you kind of struggle the most? This is like the writing when you first coming up the idea, the brainstorming, the editing where you start to finalize your stuff all together and you see like, let me take out this line here and there. Like, what's sort of your process behind that?
Well, you know, it kind of balances out for me. I think sometimes it can get a little challenging when you're creating a song. You know, a lot of the times my songs start off either with like a chorus or a hook, and then I'll kind of just build from there. And there are times where you can get stuck, you know, like maybe have writer's block, or you got to take a step away and reapproach the project later. And then definitely in the finalizing process, you know, stress can come. It happens. You know, you're dealing with instrumentals and just different aspects of like things that have to be a certain way. It's such a process, you know. But at the end of the day, you know, quality is the most important thing for me. And again, you know, making able to create something real, something that people can relate to. And as long as, you know, I like it, I'm happy.
True. Okay. And I kind of want to go back to the burnout, because everyone has sort of a different ways of like handling a burnout. Some people like just go outside, take a walk. Some people just like to go oh, let me just play some video games. What are some things that you do when you go through creative burnout?
Well, like you mentioned, taking a walk. I love the outdoors. I love nature. I think meditation is important. So I love to meditate and really self care, taking that time to just like take a step back from everything and just nurture yourself.
Mm. How has the being into this art and this lifestyle, the musician, sort of like impacted you in a way? Like, has it made you kind of think things a little bit differently? Like, say some people say they had to mature a lot faster than you since they're taking their art seriously. So how is that like from your perspective? Kind of like trying to change change your life, I guess you could say, for lack of better words.
Right. Well, in a business aspect and being an independent female artist, it just has really made me become more aware. Be more aware of like who you're working with, make sure that you do have contracts, make sure that you are, copywriting your music and that you're doing everything legitimately just so that you protect yourself and your music.
Mm. Yeah, that's an interesting aspect to too, because not many people know, but and like, some people just don't want to acknowledge it. But let's just, I mean, I'm willing to say it. It's hard being a woman in the industry like this. It's not as easy for sure. There's going to be some big hurdles out there,
Right.
and a lot of it is just like the expectations is a lot higher, I
Right.
guess you could say. And I'm just curious from your perspective, like what are some things that you kind of notice out there in the industry that you kind of want to change, or you like see like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And just like you mentioned, it is being hard being a female in this industry, especially the Latin genre. You have a lot of males running the industry, I
Mm,
won't name names, but
for sure.
it's just a little bit harder on the competition side. So just, you know, banding together, doing more collaborations together, really working together and showing that we can work together and we can also, be as good as a male can.
Hmm. And just really just like the aspect too is just more collaboration. I think
More collaboration.
it really helps out a long way because instead of making money separately, you can make more money together.
Right.
That's you can make the like who says why just settle with just one tiny bag? We can get a big bag with a whole crew.
Absolutely. Yeah, we shine brighter together. So,
For sure, for sure. Let me see. What are some dream artists that you would like to work with?
dream artists that I would like to work with definitely would be somebody like Ivy Queen, Bad Bunny, Mike Towers. Those are just a few. And, again, like I think a lot of local artists are awesome and talented here locally in Dallas too that I'd love to work with.
Mm. Oh yeah, Bad Bunny. Well, Bad Bunny is definitely the huge wave, man. That is for sure, for sure.
Like who
Man,
wouldn't want to like collab with him? But
nah, for real. I want to see his Coachella. I saw his Coachella performance like on YouTube, and I was like, damn, that would have been so much fun to join with,
I know.
especially with the AT&T Arlington Stadium when he came through.
yeah,
It was a hell of a concert from what I've seen.
yeah,
Just whole vibe.
yeah.
Let me see. In terms of sort of your artistic approach or like your ambitions, what are some things that that you see that you would like to continue working on? Like, what are some like some ambitions that you want to work on continuing in this business?
I definitely want to branch out into different genres of music. I
Mm.
do mainly specialize, like I mentioned, Latin music, and most all of my songs are in Spanish. So I want to branch out and do a little bit more English. My next track will have like 50% English in it. So that's going to be really exciting.
Okay, so so you're planning more for like sort of tearing down that language barrier and trying to have a little bit of everybody.
Absolutely.
Hey, mad respect to that. And there's not a lot of people that are willing to like branch out and be like, because it's a challenge to like to break from like, it's one thing to go from one genre to another. Let's say going from, let's say from rap to jazz.
Right.
It's a whole transition, but from one language to another,
Yeah.
that's a new level. That's legit a new level.
Yeah, and bilingual. I think that's important to have a little bit of both in it.
And also makes a distinct sound from one another. I
Right.
will say this: there's not many like bilingual songs out there, so that's definitely something that could potentially kick ass in the industry.
Yeah, I think you'll like this next track coming out.
Hell yeah. Another thing too, I really want to ask is, um, when it comes to music, has this always been a thing that just sort of like came onto you, like you knew you wanted to do from the very beginning, or was it like a moment in time where it's like, hey, you know what, this is like, you know, a certain moment where it's like, hey, this might be something that just kind of that I really like, and I might as well build on to.
Well, music has been probably a part of my life since as long as I can remember growing up. When I was very, very young, barely learning to walk, and I was listening and dancing already to music. And by the age of 3, I was on like picnic tables at barbecues trying to perform with a paper roll in my hand. So
We all have that one.
yeah, so like it started at a really early age for me, and then it kind of just grew as time went by. I was in choir, in school for 4 years. So I got to learn a lot about proper singing, and that was just so impactful for me. And really, music has always been instilled in me somehow. It's always been like my savior, like my go-to. It's always felt like home for me in some weird way.
So it's like it's like a place, a thing where you can, it's just release stress in one way.
Yeah, it's like say? I feel like it's part of who I am, like my voice, my ability, to vocalize what I feel is just part of who I am.
Hey, man. Okay. Shoot, I'm trying to figure out some really good questions right now, because it's like, this is just, because what I like is just already from just seeing, it's just from like meeting you and like really like getting to know you, it's just the genuineness. It's just how real your piece is, and it just really offers a really new perspective to honestly, to like sort of to basically the music industry, I would say, like a whole.
Right.
Just already, just your vibe is just unlike anyone I've met before. It's just really definitely a lot more genuine. You're definitely more into the arts, and it's just, you have a lot of hustle culture, especially from from your social media. From what I see, is just you're out there in the field, in the trenches. And like I said, mad respect to your hustle and your hard work. I don't
Thank
think
you.
There are very few artists that I would say that have. There are a lot of artists that have talent, you can say, but there are very few that are willing to put hard work for the talent. And I'm just really curious, it just, when it comes to like putting yourself out there so much, it's just, you see, it's very easy for someone like you working so hard, and you see other people's success, and it's very easy to fall into the envious trap. And right. I'm just curious, from your perspective, how does one not prevent themselves? Because let's say for my case, I'm a videographer, I'm working on my thing, but I don't have a studio under my name.
Right.
It's very easy to compare yourself to others. How do you deal with that?
Well, the way I deal with it is consistency and remaining, true to myself. Like, as long as I know that I'm putting in the hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, like for me, it makes my journey like more meaningful. Because for me, it's not about like jumping to the top faster than someone else, or getting an opportunity that may help me jump higher, for whatever way of explaining it. For me, it's the experience, and having meaning in it, because at the end of the day, when you work for something, nobody can take that away from you. You earn that, and that makes it meaningful.
That's true, and it's just, I highly agree with it, and I think that's another thing too that I feel like some other couple artists kind of struggle, is that this kind of field, you can't look at it as like as a fast way to get money. It's right. More of the longevity. How long right. can I make this up here? And it's very. It is a tough thing to grasp. It is tough. Sometimes, we had a last interview, with Roman Diafra, where he said, you know, some people, I'm just gonna say, some people won't even know your music until after you're dead. That's sort of the sad reality, but it's just something that you have to accept in order to continue on, because at least, you know, I think another thing too that helps out a lot is when you celebrate with people, when you have those accomplishments,
Right.
and you have people around you. I think that's what really makes a difference. Whether it definitely be with friends or family or who, you know, it's one of those things.
Absolutely.
It's tough. It's tough to be lonely, I guess, to say the least. But it's one of those things where you just, like you said, it's all about consistency, being able to, you know, being able to continue on that road even through no matter how hard the hardships is, you know.
Right.
What are some out of curiosity? What are some hobbies of yours that you do outside of music? Like, is there any other things you do for like aside, you know, meditating? You know, you like that, and I'm just curious, how does that work for those that are kind of curious into meditating?
Meditation. Well, you know, anybody can meditate. They even have like phone apps where you can, you know, plug it into your phone and meditate. I like to meditate to music. There's a lot of cool meditation music out there. As far as like hobbies go, I love to paint and draw. And I don't know if you knew that I, you know, do like a little bit of customizing like on vintage clothing.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, sometimes on my spare time I'll do that. And writing, obviously. I like to write and read.
Nice. Well, I do want to touch a little bit on your fashion and definitely about that. So when you say you customize vintage fashion, just a little taste about that. How does how does that work for someone that's like coming at this that don't know?
It's just a crafty, easy, fun hobby that anybody can pick up. It's as easy as picking up like a pair of Levi's at a vintage shop and, you know, using it as your canvas. They sell, you know, fabric paint that you could use, and I like to use Sharpies sometimes, and then, you know, just different things that you can do to them.
So is that sort of also like a thing you're doing alongside with your music, like sort of like a marketing plan? Like you say, hey, instead of just sticking with music, I'm also gonna do with this.
Yeah, you know, it's definitely an idea that I have like for future merch. I have merch coming out soon. And also eventually a beauty line. You know, I've worked in cosmetics for some time now, and I have a lot of experience and knowledge in that department. And it's just part of my like artistic side, I would say.
So getting into the beauty line. So we're gonna expect to see like a future what
Sky something.
Hey, you know, I was gonna say like what was it? I was gonna say, what was that thing that Rihanna had? It was like a makeup, but it was like
Fenty.
Shaped. It was like, what's up?
Fenty Beauty.
Yeah, I was like, are we gonna see a Sky version collab with Fenty Beauty?
You never know.
What are some like? What would you say? What would you do? Like your favorite type of like in terms of like designing clothes? Would you say jackets are some fun, or like t-shirts, or what are some of the things that you like to touch on?
I would really love to do a line of like Letterman jackets.
Ooh.
I wear a lot of them during my shows, obviously caps, and possibly, you know, like the schoolgirl skirts, the pleated skirt. I love that look. It's just sporty and hip and modern. And gloves. I love gloves, you know, so.
Hey, I love gloves. Gloves are pretty cool. I mean, I see gloves coming up, making a bit of a comeback too, especially like one of my buddies. I think it's more just him, but he I see him more pop around where it's like he has like a little Michael Jackson glove that the old jewels and everything. Which don't get me wrong, it looks amazing.
Yeah,
it looks fashion. It looks flashy.
And for the guys' hoodies, you know, I love a big oversized hoodie.
Oh, yeah, those are comfy.
So, yeah.
Oh man. What else would you what other branches like your own merch would you create just outside of clothing? Would you do shoes, or would you do like what other branches would you do was outside of clothing, out of curiosity?
Well, I mentioned the caps,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mentioned, like I said, a beauty line. That would be really awesome. I think lashes are really in right now as well. I've seen that a lot. So those have been a couple of my ideas.
Are you fond? Like, out of curiosity,
Oh,
you know.
glasses.
Oh, glasses.
Yeah.
Oh, that's definitely
Shades.
something.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah, that'd be something. That would be something cool, like some like cool eye visors or something.
Yes.
Or what Boozy has.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Wooz. I think it's a Gucci or something. I don't know.
Probably like Dolce & Gabbana.
Makes sense. When it comes to working, another thing that it comes with the music business or like getting into this is definitely how to sort of conform yourself to be more of a team player. And from your perspective, like, do you prefer working independent or you like to work with a team?
Well, you know, as an independent artist, I already work with a team. You know, I could not do this alone. So I have to, you know, build those connections, maintain them, and nurture them, you know, to be successful in what I do. Because without them, you know, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. We're talking from like the producer, the videographer, the person that creates my beats. So it's all a team effort. And we're not local, you know, they're remote. So a lot of the times it's a little bit more challenging because like we're not in person. So it even increases the need to like work together.
Mm. How would you say for someone for someone that's just, you know, independent, that's just on their own, how would you say your advice for someone that would they like have to start changing their attitude to become more of a team player? Because for some folks, it's very challenging to go from like me to just be like, oh, you know what I mean?
Right. You know, definitely being open to feedback. You know, that's how we grow. We do make mistakes. We don't know it all. And it's a growing experience. So being able to, if you're working with a team the way I am, you know, being able to receive that feedback and like apply it, make the changes that are necessary so that at the end of the day, your project is the best quality.
Mm. True. And I think that's another thing too that is like a big sort of eye opener for a lot of artists that I think some of them struggle with is again like it's all you can't really make it on your own. You can make it your own far, but you go a lot farther with a whole team.
Absolutely.
And especially feedback. It's really hard to have. It's really hard, and I'm gonna admit sometimes I struggle with this when you have feedback from somebody because it's like I'm putting time and effort into something of work, and just to have someone say, be criticized, it kind of hurts a little bit, you know?
Yeah, and it can, but you want to look at it in a positive manner, right? Like they're little nuggets. Like maybe it's not a bad thing. Maybe it's a gift so that you can better your craft, so that you can be more aware of where your errors are and fix them.
Exactly, and just really be more, you know, who turned out to be better. There is a difference, you know, I think having with feedback is you can tell the difference between a good feedback and a bad feedback over time.
Right.
You kind of have to take all of it within whatever you can within your first year or two of getting in there. But over time, you start to see like what are some good or bad feedbacks.
Right.
Is that sort of something that you kind of had to like did, or like how would you like just kind of take feedback in and just like sort of like, you know, take it in on one hand?
I mean, you know, just listening, you know, listening to the feedback, listening to where I could have done better, you know, what I could have changed, and just learning from that, applying it in the studio. You know, if I have to go back and do like vocals or ad libs, or if I didn't hit a note a certain way, you know, my team knows that I'm all about quality, that I'm real big on, you know, and also it sounding really authentic. So that's why for me, feedback is like critical in my process. Like I want to know if something sounds off, you know, I don't want you to like pass it by because like you're trying to be nice. Like, no. So they know, they're aware that like in our process, like if something sounds off, like, you know, they're going to tell me and I'm going to listen to them. So.
And it just moves on forward from
and
there.
It moves on forward. Yeah. And I've noticed, you know, like I can listen to songs like that we've done, and then we've done newer ones and they sound better. So like I can hear in the music, you know, where it's gotten better. So.
Heck yeah. And that's just where it's just weirdly how it goes. It's just the more feedback you have and the more you take it in, the better it gets.
Right.
Simply put. I think it's just let's see. What other people in the industry sort of inspired you Like just like were there other moments or other people that you're just like, hey, I really want to take note about that?
Well, you know, growing up in the Rio Grande Valley, I got the opportunity to see like Selena in concert when she was
Really?
with us. Yes, and she's been a huge inspiration. I mean, I grew up listening to her, and Latin music is just a passion of mine. So she was definitely one of my inspirations.
That's man. Selena's the queen for a reason.
Yeah, she is.
I just oof. Rest in peace to Queen.
Yes.
Just let me see. Would you say when it comes to your sound, what other branches or genres would you be willing to more reach out? Because I know you say you want to would do bilingual, but would you consider like doing some other genres of music that you wouldn't experiment with, or what are some like or other creatives that you kind of see like I would like to sort of like see grow or like work with? You know?
Absolutely. Yes, you know, I would eventually love to branch out into a couple of different genres and, you know, dabble in different areas. I love reggae. I don't know if you knew that, but I do love reggae. I love R&B, hip hop, and I would also be interested in possibly playing with like a corrido tumbado, which is kind of becoming popular. So, you know, kind of like a fusion of reggaeton with a corrido tumbado.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Out of curiosity, because I still did a little bit of trivia, a little bit of trivia for some of our interviews. Since because it's becoming a big thing, you watch anime?
You know, I've seen it, but I don't like watch it.
Watch it. Dang. Here comes the hate comments right now. I just tell
you know, I will say my daughter's like obsessed with it. So
oh, okay.
Yeah, with anime.
Hey, that's what's up. Hey, it is a big thing that's just coming more and more popular, and I'm seeing becoming, you know, not just a big thing in like say, you know, just in television, but in fashion lines, and now you see people wearing all anime faces are a big thing for some reason, or just anything else. I'm just surprised, you know, still trying to take in how big it got. But hey, you know, just a little something that we like to throw just a little something to throw them off guard.
Yeah.
My other question, and this is another thing I like to tell for my interviewees to kind of throw them a little bit more off guard. What is the one wish you would have? If you could have one wish in this world, what would it be?
That is a tough one, I must say. But I think it would be, you know, world peace.
Wow, really?
Yeah, you know, just the end of the animosity, the hate, and everything that we deal with in that respect.
Dang, that's definitely beautiful. I think it's just I think it's possible, but there is just so much conflict that's just happening in this world these days, especially with like, you know, current events going on right now where it seems hard, but there are beautiful moments. I feel like we can come close. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, it's tough. It's something.
I know it's a big one, but you asked one wish, so.
Hey, you did. Other than that, I think again want to thank you, Kristal, again so much for coming through to our studios for our interview. For everyone who are curious, we film all our studios. All our interviews are filmed at Daydream Studios. Please shout out to them. Again, Kristal, thank you so much for coming over.
Thank you.
Feel free to let out your how people can follow you, where to go. Drop your socials.
Yes, please. You can follow me on Instagram at Kristal Skies. That's KRISTALSKIES. And you can also stay tuned with updates at kristalskies.com.
Do you have any other big events happening that we should be aware of? Any big concerts coming up soon?
Yes, we're going to be out Cinco de Mayo, May 6th and 7th, out in Dallas, downtown. So just stay tuned with flyers on my Instagram. And coming up in November, I have something out at Levitt Pavilion. So yeah, just stay tuned, and a lot of new music in the works. So
alrighty, remember everyone, if you enjoy these videos, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all to those that made it to the end. You have a great one.